Let's start this way with this bilateral agreement between Nigeria and the European Union, 20 million euro.
Yes.
What does this translate to us here in Nigeria, and how do we place our buttons to derive the best benefits?
Thank you again for having me. It's a very exciting time for Nigeria, especially when it comes to the area of not only tourism, creative industry, and the culture as well. With the European Union, it's an agreement. We have not signed the MOU yet, but we're in talks. And yesterday I had very meaningful discussions with the ambassador of the European Union to boost our partnership and our collaboration. Of course, in the area of capacity building, as you said, area of building on infrastructure. From the very beginning, it was not lost on me what needed to be done. I think it's very obvious what needs to be done to boost the creative industry and for us to really make it a huge means of value and growth for the country. So things like capacity building, infrastructure, as you've spoken to, we have alluded to, and the area of policy. You know, for the Europeans, for the global community at large, they want to see that Nigeria, from an administrative point of view, has come with the right variables, has put up the meaningful frameworks that will allow them to partner with us, that will give them security, specifically in terms of the investment that they bring onto the table. So with the discussions that we're having and with the French Treasury, which that one we've already signed an MOU with, whereby we have investment of 100 million euro that is going to go directly into building infrastructure assets to boost the creative industry. So they have seen the framework that we have put in place with the policy. IP policy #1 is something that has eluded the industry. What we're doing in terms of the copyright and what we're doing in terms of just putting the enabling environment for them to come in. And I think we've been able to get their confidence. And this is why you're seeing my ministry and the government signing MOUs, not only with the European Union, not only with the French government, but with UAE. We've signed an MOU with the UAE. With Saudi Arabia, we've signed one. We're just on the verge of signing one with Russia, and with a plethora of other international community that are interested in tapping into the huge resources that we have in Nigeria when it comes to the culture and the creative. But they just want to know that Nigeria has put up the right framework that will also protect their own investment as it comes in.
Interesting. Well, President Tinubu's visit to St. Lucia made the headlines, and you were part of that team that went with him. Beyond the cheers and warm reception, what exactly does Nigeria stand to benefit from this visit?
Thank you. Well, first of all, St. Lucia was absolutely beautiful, but I have to say, thank God that we have a president that has the sort of foresight to really open up the envelope as we do with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. St. Lucia, on paper, does not seem as a fit for Nigeria to go and do a partnership with, right? It's a country of less than 200,000 population, which is like as small or as big as my singular village in Nigeria. So you wouldn't think it is the ordinary or the normal way we should gravitate. But because of the foresight of the president, and as you see with the global happenings in the world, you know, Nigeria has to be very creative in opening up other opportunities, especially with countries that want us to come in and to do business. St. Lucia is the gateway to the Caribbean. Despite the fact that it's a country that has less than 200,000 in terms of population, but St. Lucia is the main, I think it is that is where the organization of the Eastern Caribbean countries reside. So when you open up partnership with St. Lucia, that is an access to 44 million population and 13 different countries. So when you think of it in that way, when you approach it in that way, you see that really St. Lucia has a lot to offer in terms of resources. And then you'd think this is a community that has an appetite and a hunger for Nigerian culture, for African culture. So this is an area that we really want to look into. Cultural diplomacy, cultural, different festivals. Their festival, which really mirrors the Calabar Festival, they're interested in what we have to offer with Dirty December or Jude Oba, with our Durbas, with the Arugungu Fishing Festivals. There's a lot of areas of similarity. And again, tourism. We're looking up to open up our tourism assets. And you look at a country like St. Lucia and many of the Caribbean countries that have been able to really bring tourism, really exercise tourism to a state that the whole global community wants to go to the Caribbean. So this is an area of capacity building that I, as a minister sitting on top of tourism, wants to see what we can do in terms of tapping into their own resource when it comes to tourism to teach us. Already we have signed an MOU with St. Lucia that's going to open Nigeria up to a number of resorts in Nigeria, tourism resorts, and then see how they can also tap into what we have to offer for culture. They have an interest. I tell you, in St. Lucia, every single person that you talk to is talking about Nollywood. That is the one thing, that is the one area of interest. Not even the music, is the Nollywood, is the film industry. So can you imagine the different partnerships that we can open up the Nollywood industry to? From filming, co-production in the Caribbean, the filming, the locations that we can have, and as well as the fashion. They have an interest as the fashion. So we want to open them up to come into the Nigerian market, to look at how they can get resource from our leather, from our ashoakes. So there's a number of benefits and worth that and values that can benefit both of us. So it's really about looking at what each country has, or the Caribbean has, or what Nigeria has, and to see what is mutually beneficial. And for me, is to continue to see what we can extract from St. Lucia. And like I said again, thank God that we have a president that has the foresight to think outside the box in terms of not only with the industry, my own industry, in environment, St. Lucia, what it has done with the environment ecosystem, with the health ecosystem. There's a lot of things that we can partner. So we don't need to go to countries that we're struggling to even get an appointment to get a visa. You have a whole community, millions and millions of Black people that have interest in you, and that have a vested interest in knowing about your culture and your shared heritage. And so I think that's primarily what the value of the St. Lucia visit was.